Welcome to the MotorMouth podcast. My name is Tim Sylvie. Before we introduce today's guest, I need to head to Essex to introduce my co-host. Now, Essex is home to the burial site of King Harold, who famously fell at the Battle of Hastings in 1066. His resting place is Waltham Abbey. What better tenuous link to bring in another Harold, or as I like to call him, Harry Benjamin. How are you?
Not technically a Harold, but I'll take that. I really thought you'd run out of your Essex facts, so well done. Waltham Abbey, that's where I take my car to have it serviced. So it's nice to know there's a nice bit of history there as well.
There we are. Good little chat for you.
How are you, Timothy?
I'm all right. This is a late one for us, isn't it? It's 8 p.m. as we speak now.
Yeah.
It's dark outside. It's autumn. It's cold and miserable.
But actually, you know what? We've kicked off season 5 of this, and I just thought I'd actually say, even though it is getting dark earlier, we're obviously in the UK, we're going into another lockdown, and we've had so many nice messages about the podcast, and so people wanting to hear more, and it's great that it can provide a bit of an escape for people. So thank you so much for your continued support to everyone who listens, and we'll make sure we've got an all-star lineup for you for this season 5. So we're really excited to have everybody along for it.
Yeah, the feedback's been amazing, actually. So thank you for all of that. Right, should we stop rambling and introduce today's guest?
Let's do it, yes.
It's not a joke, it's fucking serious.
That's right, it is serious, people. Today, we have to be very careful what we say to our guest. Why? Because he's incredibly tough and can most likely take down Harry and I with a glance. It's former SAS operator turned racing driver Jay Morton. After an initial stint in the paras and tours to Afghanistan and Iraq, Jay went through the grueling Special Forces selection process and onto a 10-year career with the UK's elite. He's climbed Everest twice, and you'll know him as one of the terrifying directing staff on Channel 4's SAS Who Dares Wins. He's also become an author, having written his first book called Soldier. What does this have to do with motorsport? Well, in 2021, he'll be racing behind the wheel of a Praga R1 machine. They're amazing cars. We're here to find out more. Jay Morton, welcome to the MotorMouth podcast.
Jay, thanks so much for joining us. So where are you abouts in the world at the moment, and how's your 2020 been?
I think my 2020 has probably been just the same as everyone else's. Quite eventful. So I'm down on the south coast at the minute. So I spent all of the year down here. It's the perfect location to be in lockdown, to be honest, because right next to the coast and plenty of countryside.
Yeah, that is perfect. I'm jealous. I mean, lucky I've got a garden, but yeah, that's what you want, really. But before we get on, obviously, to your new sort of racing venture, we like to go back to where it all started, really, with all our guests and find out, what was life like growing up for you? What spurred you on to head into the career that you've had, which has obviously been quite varied?
So I'm kind of from just normal background. So I'm a northerner by heart. I grew up in Preston in Lancashire. Just a normal background, grew up playing sport. And then, I kind of found the military. And for me at the time, like I was never someone that liked school, kind of always getting into trouble, and found that my attention span in school was completely too short. I found the military, and that was a place where I could put my energy into, and I found a passion for it. Ended up joining, when I was 19 years old, and that was the time that kind of the Afghanistans and that kicked off. So got my fair share of Afghan tours and Iraq tours, and then led up to the Special Forces and the rest of the career.
And was that just a case of, there was nothing else you saw yourself doing or you could see, and you just sort of stumbled across the military? Or was there anything in your family that might indicate that? Or was it just completely, you saw it and you went for it?
No, I didn't have any family members that were in the military, bar kind of granddads that had served in the war. It was more of like, I left school, like I left with minimal grades and went to study at college, sport. And again, ended up leaving just before a year, just because I just wasn't, I'm not good for the indoors. I'm not good being sat indoors and staring at computer screens and, coursework and deadlines and stuff like that. Well, deadlines aren't too bad, but I think the educational system's not set up for me. So I ended up leaving and just going into some like really like poor kind of like factory work and stuff like that. And again, I was just bored. Like I need excitement and entertainment in my life, and that just didn't provide it, which is, why I went into the military.
When you reached the military, was it all you expected it to be? Did you think, yes, I've found my calling here?
I don't know. I don't think you really sit there and go, yeah, I found what I wanted to do here, do you? It's like, I think when you look back retrospectively, like, yes, like that fit my personality type and it fit where I was in my life down to a T. But when you're in it, it's just, you're in that mix of doing what you're doing and just, with a good group of lads and going around, traveling around the world and doing what you need to do.
And I suppose entering the military is one thing, and then joining the SAS in particular, that must have been a momentous moment for you in your life. How did that opportunity come about? What was the motivation behind it?
So I'd done 4 years by the time I went on to SAS Selection, and that was kind of 1 tour of Iraq, 2 tours of Afghanistan, and at the time, like, that second tour of Afghanistan wasn't really, I don't know, it was quite a quiet tour, and we got sent to some, I wouldn't say boring locations, touch wood that nothing bad happened, but it was quite a quiet tour. And, I found that I was kind of searching for more at that time. And you kind of hear these rumors of lads going on SAS Selection and passing out, and you never see them again. And they almost become like urban legends that kind of people speak about, and you kind of want to meet that guy, but you never do. And at the time I was in Afghanistan, and there was the SBS was stationed out there, and we used to see them at the camp coming back in off jobs on a couple of CH-47 helicopters. And they've just got a presence about them, right? They've got like, better kit, they're dressed differently. They'll walk into the cookhouse or the kitchen and everyone kind of knows who they are. And
they're just cool.
Cool. Yeah. And you want a piece of that, don't you? As like a 24-year-old lad, it's like, that's what you want to do.
And actually, just for people who, I suppose the SAS is really, well, I suppose the idea is you don't really know about them, but obviously they're known in the UK. Sort of, we know who they are, what they do. Could you explain to someone who actually doesn't have any clue what the SAS is, what it's all about?
Yeah, it's so it's a special air service. So it's the UK's Tier 1 Special Forces unit. So it's you've got the kind of green army, or the basic army as you call it, and then each army unit around the world will have its own kind of smaller special forces unit, which basically just gets all the bad jobs that no one else wants, really. emptying bins and cleaning kitchens and stuff like that. Not all glamour.
You mentioned selection process earlier. That's sort of infamous. People sort of think about that selection process, and we've seen bits of it on the show, which we'll come on to later. But is that selection process for the SAS as bad as people would imagine?
Yeah, do you know what? It's probably worse.
Worse, God.
But you build in, or you're trying to find characters that are capable of carrying out that task. So, but the funny thing is, I actually quite enjoyed SAS Selection, if I'm honest. Yeah, it was because I was at a time I was like 24, full of testosterone. It was my time to like prove myself over that 6 months in front of people, and I'm super competitive. So yeah, like going on there with like a group of lads that are all doing the same thing, you form like good bonds and good relationships. So get to the end of it, and I was quite sad to see everyone go.
Yeah, and presumably not everyone makes it to the end. A bit like the show, there must be dropouts along the way, or does everyone tend to get through it?
Like you start with about 150 guys on day one. You probably get joined by about another 50 or 70 guys halfway through that have been injured on the last selection, and then I want to say it was probably about 17 guys at the end.
Wow. God, it's amazing.
Yeah. So the attrition rate's quite high.
Guys and girls?
Just guys. But yeah, the funny thing is, like, I don't think SAS Selection's never not been open for females. I think in the writing it just says candidate and doesn't specify gender. So
well, so the opportunity though with SAS Who Dares Wins, which if people haven't seen, that is obviously the hit Channel 4 show in the UK, which you made a bit of a splash on. Really, it's already quite a gripping show, and the way you came into it was tense to watch as well.
Evil. I was like, you You bastard!
Did you not figure it out?
I just remember watching that poor woman who I can't remember her name, but she had to hold the her thing over her head while I just watched that. I went, oh my god! But so what spurred you on to join that show, and what's the idea behind it? Because obviously you've been there, done it. Do you want to relive it again?
Yeah, I mean, like the show's not as comparable to like real SAS selection. It's a lot more condensed, but you're just trying to put candidates under similar kind of stresses and situations that we go through on normal SAS selection. Yeah, poor Ellie. She's a strong girl though. She's a super strong girl. So to be honest, I didn't feel bad about it because like I knew she could take it. But yeah, yeah, do you know, like the show puts out a good message, right? In these years, that the lads and the DS, they're all good role models, and that's what I saw before I went on the show. And if the show wasn't putting out that positive message and kind of, coming across the way it does, then I probably wouldn't have done it. But
one thing I've really noticed about it is that obviously, you've got to be physically fit, and you can. There is literal ways you can improve your physical fitness. That is, there's set in stone. There's so many different ways you can do that, from diet to exercise. But then what the show does really well is it obviously takes into account the hidden mental health. That is something that has got to be so strong amongst the candidates, and obviously amongst anyone going into the SAS in the real world or any high level military. How do you work on the mental aspect of it? Because I imagine it's not as easy, is it? Because you can't see it, and you can't just go to the gym.
Yeah, it's the mental aspect's the biggest part of it. Like physical strength and endurance will only get you to a certain point, and beyond that, like when your body stops, like your body wants to stop and not carry on, that's when your mental agility, or what's called resilience these days, that's when that resilience kicks in. And it's, resilience isn't something that you're born with. It's something that you develop over time of exposing yourself to difficult things or stressful things. And that's what the military does very well without even knowing it, is it exposes you to all these difficult like stresses and scenarios. And over time of doing that, you build this resilience up.
Do you think it's possible to develop a mental toughness? Because I remember watching the show with Tony Bellew, and he was pretty crazy when he came into it. He admitted he had a short fuse and he found it difficult to control his temper. And in the boxing challenge, he pretty much looked like he was about to murder everybody. And he sort of improved, and it became quite a life-changing experience for him. But I imagine he's still a pretty highly strung character. Can you train your brain to have that mental strength, or is it something that you're born with and you just get lucky with?
I think everyone's probably different in that situation, right? Like, you could take someone who's probably developed it over their childhood through, growing up, through parenting and through what happened at school. And, they've probably just ended up, I don't know whether it's in certain situations that have just given them that mental resilience, or given them a reason to want to push themselves beyond what they're capable of. And then I guess other people would put themselves in a career that gives them that mental toughness or resilience. So like guys that join the army, or guys that play in sports teams like rugby, those guys are tough as nails, right? That's because they're constantly week in, week out, throwing the bodies into other guys' bodies, trying to stop them. And that creates that mental toughness.
Without trying to turn this into a couch exercise, you said yourself, you struggled at school in terms of, I guess going to it and keeping your focus and enjoying it as from an educational perspective. There are loads of kids that are like that go into very normal jobs. What do you think it is about you, or your background, or your mental state, that makes you want to experience all these challenges and test your body and your mind to such a degree? Can you pinpoint something, or is it you think you just sort of fell into that route and it turned out to be something you were good at?
It's a deep question, that, Tim.
Good one, isn't it?
I'm just like I'm going back into the deepest parts of my brain trying to answer this one. I don't know, like I think part of it is like the way I grew up. Probably just, I used to walk to school. It was like a mile and a half to walk to school, and you do that in the winter, you do that in the snow, in the wind, in the rain. Like I had a paper round when I was a young lad, so I used to manage 2 paper rounds actually, and then used to work in a chip shop and have a milk round all in one. So I was like the richest guy at school, but I was like
on zero sleep, I imagine, if you're doing the milk round and the paper round.
Yeah, the tiredest guy at school as well. So yeah, I think it's partly like, I grew up playing like rugby as well, so it's probably partly like a little bit of that, and then I don't know. I think it's hard to pinpoint like exactly where it came from. Like I'm really competitive, so I'm always trying to beat people. So there's that element of like competitiveness. And then when you get thrown into the army, it's like all that mixed into one. Yeah, you end up.
Yeah, makes for a good soldier. Yeah.
What
exactly.
is the biggest challenge you've ever had?
Biggest challenge. Do you know Everest is probably one of the hardest things I've done.
And you done that twice?
Yeah.
Casual.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Talk to us about Everest then. That, I mean, I can't even get my head around it, because people getting to base camp is an effort in itself, and then you go even higher, and obviously it's so dangerous and perilous, and I can see the appeal of it as well, but I can also see the absolute reason of never ever wanting to do it.
Yeah, well, it's like one of those things that you just put yourself through hell for 6 weeks to just get to the summit of something, just to say you've done it. And like even getting to the summit is like quite a bit of an anticlimax, because at the end of the day, it's just a patch of land on the earth, isn't it?
So did you get to the summit both times?
Yeah, both times. Yeah.
Both. So it wasn't even like you failed the first time. You thought, okay, I've got to do it again because we'll get to the top. You thought, no, I'll do the exact same thing again.
Yeah. And weirdly, I felt stronger the first time. I felt fine. I had like a really good run at it. So I was like, the second time I'm going to feel the same. But the second time I had like, I was ill, like I had bad diarrhea.
Oh God.
I had like a really bad day that I thought I was going to die. And then, like when I got to the top, I was like I've got the ability to just keep trudging on and keep going regardless of how I feel. Like I've always got that reserve, that kind of 10% just tucked away. But yeah, I remember shedding a tear at the top of the second summit, because I was just like so relieved that I'd made it and the rest of the team had made it.
So a third time?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like I was supposed to climb a mountain called K2 this year.
Oh yeah.
Obviously COVID's affected that, so hopefully like K2 maybe next year, and then I'm planning to climb Everest 2021 with some ex convicts, call them convicts, ex-criminals. So they've been in prison. They're doing this reform thing.
Wow.
Very cool.
So yeah, that's the plan in 2021. So like, do you know what? If this lockdown and COVID hadn't happened, I'd be doing some sort of high altitude mountain probably every year.
You're basically the man that I wanted to be. Yeah, I climbed Everest. I left my socks up there, went back up, did it again. It's fine. I've got to ask, Ant Middleton, what's he like away from the cameras? Because you see him on TV and you're just like, oh my God, what an asshole. Is he a teddy bear behind closed doors?
No, he just shouts and swears like every day.
like he is.
Nah, Ant's sound. He's just a mellow character, right? And then when he's on TV, that's who he is.
Can you pinpoint a particular point of your military career, whether that be in the paras or in the SAS, where it's a highlight for you, something that you really felt like you'd achieved the greatest thing you're going to achieve?
There is, there's a few moments that I actually just can't speak about it just because it falls under that umbrella. military wise anyway. I think, passing selection was a big point. And that was definitely, although it was again quite an anticlimax, because you almost just finished 6 months of selection, turn up to the parade square, like get given your belt and berry, someone takes a picture of you, and then that's it, you're off to like join your team.
Somewhere.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, like that. And then I know the first summit of Everest was whilst I was still serving, so that's probably a massive achievement. And then like, that first some of the Afghan tours, and managed to tick off quite a few things. But yeah.
So you've achieved obviously some amazing things in your career. You've got that mental strengthness as well as that physical strengthness, all things that you need really to be a racing driver. So let's turn to racing and the world of motorsport. And you're going to be making your racing debut, all things COVID wise planning out well, driving in the Praga R1 in 2021 for VR Motorsport. So congrats, first of all, but also, how did that come about? Where did motorsport come from for you?
I think it just ticks all the boxes of stuff that I like doing.
Yeah.
And do you know what? It was just a brilliant opportunity from the guys at Praga, from Mark. And we touched base during lockdown and chatted, and they're launching a new car next year, so it was they're looking at putting some people through and racing in brick car endurance in the R1. And when he said it, I was just like, yeah, like why not? Like that sounds awesome. So yeah, like I've got some sort of like driver training that I did whilst I was in the special forces. So we've done quite a few track stuff, quite car handling, like J turns, like the evasive stuff, trying to knock cars out of the way and escape out of sticky situations.
Perfect for a racing series.
Yeah, and we've done like loads of fast driving on like the UK roads and around London. So, but yeah, like racing's a completely different kettle of fish.
Are you into motorsport at all, or are you a fan, or was it just you put two and two together and this opportunity came about?
Yeah, like I love motorsport. Like I'm not like I love like a load of things, but I don't have time to like commit and sit down and watch it. But in terms of like, I grew up around motorsport. Like my dad always used to take me down to the NEC, to the classic car shows. Like he used to have a load of classic cars that we used to pop the bonnet at the weekend and tinker around and do stuff with. And like he'd take me to like Alton Park to watch British touring cars and like one-off little series and things like that. So yeah, I've kind of grown up around motorsport and started riding bikes when I was 21 or 20, like got my bike license, got into sports bikes. And so yeah, like for me, it just ticks every box.
And you're actually throwing yourself in slightly at the deep end, because this is not a crap series. The Praga R1 car, just some of the stats here: 4 cylinders, 16 valves, 380 brake horsepower, 410 Newton meters of torque, 2 litre, but 625 kilograms. So that thing's going to fly because it weighs about as much as I do. You've really gone for it. Are you prepared for what's going to come? Do you have any sort of expectations about how you're going to get on next year?
Do you know what it is for me now? It's just trying to get as much track time as possible and trying to get in the car as much as possible, just to build up to that level. Because like I know for that first year, I'm definitely not going to be at the same level as the other guys. Because I've met a few of the guys, like the two drivers that they've just won Brit Car now. They've just won the championship, Danny and Jem. Like Danny started racing when he was 8 years old, and he's now 19 years old. So
wow,
to get up to that standard for me so quickly is going to be a massive challenge. But yeah, like it's just about getting constant track time now for me and just practicing.
And actually someone involved obviously quite a lot with the team, one of your teammates next year, Martin Compton, who has obviously had a previous career involved in the military as well, suffered a near fatal explosion and 3rd-degree burns to 75% of his body. He must be a huge inspiration for you as well.
Yeah, Martin's an incredible human. Yeah, like really nice guy. Like obviously he races with Warren. So kind of the first time I met those guys was we've got a lot of synergies there with both being ex-military and ex-forces. But yeah, massive inspiration and a incredible guy.
That camo livery looked
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah.
Is that going to be on your car as well next year?
I hope so.
They won't see you coming.
Yeah. I just see like a bush driving around.
When you do a J turn, though, then I think they might know who it is.
Start grabbing them off the road.
Yeah.
It's the military.
It's absolutely very exciting. But in terms of getting track time, then how possible is that to do for the rest of the year?
Not like, well, we'll have to see, won't we? We've just gone into this second lockdown, so
you can't technically work from home.
possible.
You can't technically work from home, so there you go.
Well, yeah, you can travel for work, can't you? So
Exactly.
Yeah, just use that as an excuse. It just depends if they keep all the track days open. I think I've done 3 races already in Ginetta. I've got another race coming up, or another 2 races coming up. So we'll just have to see how that plays out with the whole lockdown thing.
And I know it's obviously you don't really want to think about, if you can win the championship or where you might come, but what's a reasonable target, do you think, for you? What will you go away happy with come the end of the season?
Do you know, like the competitive soul inside me just wants to win everything,
Yeah.
but I think reality, do you know what, like even just finishing the first few races, I think is a massive milestone for me. Because like I'm going to be new into the car, so just getting used to the handling of the car and just being able to drive that car on its limit, and just being able to push myself each race and each time I go out in that car. So, just finishing the races at the start will be a massive milestone.
And for those that don't know, just tell us a little bit about the championship that you're going to be taking part in.
Yeah, so it's Brit Car Endurance. So I believe there's 4 or 5 classes in Brit Car, and this is class 1, the Praga R1. So it's against kind of Ferrari Cup and what else, like Porsche 911s, that kind of car.
Well, we can't wait to watch you, and hopefully, if we're allowed to come to some of the races as well, that would be even better. Yeah. Well, look, Jay, we've absolutely rattled through all of that, but we do have a final 3 questions that we ask to all of our guests. The exact 3 questions. It's brilliant the variety of answers it throws up, and there's one question that I can't wait for you to answer. Tim, do you want to kick off with the first one?
I do indeed. What's got you excited at the moment?
Do you know what? I'm just about to bring a book out.
Yes, excellent.
Which is a massive turn in my career. So that's getting a lot of energy right now. So my book Soldier, which is out mid-November, November the 12th.
And I expect the title says it all, but tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, so it's kind of part memoir, part kind of handbook. I've obviously just, I've been fortunate to live a lot, fortunate or unfortunate to do the last 14 years in the military, 10 of those in the SAS. So it's kind of just, you talk about how do I get resilient. So the book has a chapter on resilience, where I talk about kind of where my resilience came from and what I find works for me. So it's kind of like a self-development book or a personal development book, but I've thrown a load of stories and narratives and anecdotes about kind of my life in the forces and in the military and in the special forces.
So while it's like you say, your memoirs or some stories about your experiences, it's also intended to help others who may need some sort of improvement in their own lives or want to change something about their own position in life.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's basically everything that I believe you need to be the best soldier. But that's, you can read the book and you don't necessarily need to take that and be the best soldier. That's the same for everything, right? It's be the best human being. It's be the best at whatever you do in life.
Well, that's exciting. Soldier, that is out when you say mid-November.
Yeah, November the 12th.
Exciting. Everyone make a note of that. Right. Well, if not doing what you've done, what you're doing, so many different things, it's hard to pinpoint you. It's just one thing.
Yeah.
But if you hadn't gone off into the military, if you hadn't, and then that would have not led to being a racing driver, what would you be doing?
God, no idea.
Yeah.
Probably the same as what I'm doing now. I'd have ended up doing something like crazy, or I'd have found my way into racing cars and
something
climbing
to get the
mountains.
adrenaline going.
Yeah. I love what I do, so like I found a way to do it anyway.
Now, our final question is one that's given up a lot of different answers. We've had people who couldn't answer because they got too emotional. We had people who are scared of very odd things, including tea bags. We would like to know from you, Jay Morton.
Who's scared of tea bags?
Crofty, you know, the F1 commentator, Crofty.
Yeah.
He's scared of tea bags. So, yeah.
He would not do well, I don't think, in SAS training.
He'd be great on SAS. Jay,
how do I beat tea bags?
With difficulty. There are some other weird ones in there, but that was up there. What are you scared of?
Do you know, like, this is a bit deep, but like, do you know what scares me? Just boredom and like just not living a fulfilled life that I enjoy. Like that scares me more than like I don't have any fears in terms of like tea bags or spiders or anything like that. No, like actual fears, but kind of just that, you know, just get into like an older age and just looking back and just going, wasted that.
Yeah, I think that's something a lot of people probably relate to, whether they say it out loud or not, really. And I think, what you've certainly done already in your career, with much more to go, I don't think you'll have any dangers of doing that. Jay Morton, thank you so much for coming on to the MotorMouth podcast. We can't wait to see how you get on next year, turning your hand to being a racing driver. I'm sure you'll absolutely smash it. And who knows, maybe there's some more SAS Who Dares Wins in the pipeline as well. And of course, good luck with your book, Soldier, out mid-November. Jay Morton, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Jay.
Cheers, guys.